Receiving gifts from your in-laws is a very interesting subject of discussion. Well, I'm not interested in whether you're lucky enough to have in-laws who would be pouring gifts on you on every second occasion. I am more interested in having a discussion with you on what is the tax impact of those gifts that you receive. Traditionally in India, we had a setup where the male was the earning member of the family and the female was the homemaker. So just like where a earning spouse would transfer money to the name of the non-earning spouse, so that the investments happen in the name of the non-earning spouse and overall the taxes are divided between the two. In a similar way, it was very common that when you got married into a family and you are the homemaker in the family, obviously you are not generating any income in your name. In that case, your in-laws would transfer certain amount to your name, or they would gift a certain amount of money to you, which acts as a capital or a seed capital for you to start a business, and the business would be run in your name. It is entirely possible that you would have no role to play in the business, but just because they gifted the money to you and the seed capital is in your name, all the income that was generated from the business or all the income that was generated from those investments was taxed in your name, and it was a very common method to plan the taxes to reduce the amount that the family would have to pay to the government. To put a check on this, the government introduced the provision of clubbing of income with respect to amounts given by in-laws to their daughter-in-law. Now, what do I mean by this? If you take the example of our K3G couple, where Rahul's parents decide to gift a certain amount of money to their daughter-in-law Anjali, who is a homemaker, if she decides to go and invest the money and generates any income from that money, that income will not be treated as her income. Instead, that income is going to go and get clubbed in the hands of her in-laws, and it is going to be taxable in the hands of her in-laws. By introducing this clubbing of income provision, the government took away this method which is commonly used to do tax planning by investing money in the name of your daughter-in-law. The workaround for this particular clubbing provision is that instead, if the in-laws of Anjali decide to loan the money to their daughter-in-law, so here they're not gifting the money, they're loaning the money to her, and she's liable to pay them an interest on the loan received and also liable to repay the loan at the end of the mutually agreed period. She can then go ahead and invest the money in a fixed deposit or any instrument, or even use the money to start a business in her name. Whatever income she would generate in that scenario, whether it's investment income or business income, that would get taxed in her name. But she would be liable to pay an interest to her in-laws on a yearly basis, and that interest would be treated as an income for her in-laws. So you can see here that if you want to plan your taxes, the way you do it is not to receive gifts from your in-laws, but let your in-laws loan the money to you and you pay them an interest so that you can work around the clubbing of income provisions that are available in our income tax law. One thing for you to note here is that the provisions with respect to clubbing of income are applicable only when the in-laws gift money to their daughter-in-law. If the son-in-law were to receive a gift from his parents-in-law, there is no clubbing of income. Now, what do I mean by this? If we take the example of the K3G couple again, if Anjali's father decides to gift some money to his son-in-law, that is Rahul, and Rahul goes ahead and invests the money in a deposit or uses it to generate business income, whatever income is earned by Rahul will not be clubbed with the income of his father-in-law. It will be treated as his income only because he can receive gifts from his father-in-law, whereas if Anjali receives a gift from her father-in-law, that is when the clubbing of income provisions get attracted. While these provisions of the Income Tax Act appear to be discriminating between a male and a female, what you must understand is that these provisions are based on culturally what is prevalent in India, where when the female marries and moves to her husband's house, it is expected that she's become a part of her husband's house and she's broken ties with her parents and become a part of the family that she's married into. And since it was a very common way for people to try to evade taxes by investing money in the daughter-in-law's name when she had no role to do with either business or investments, she was purely a homemaker, these provisions were introduced to curb the evasion of taxes that was pretty widely prevalent around. Having said that, for the male spouses, it's not a bad idea to have a healthy relationship with your father-in-law because you're free to receive gifts from him without any tax implications for you as the receiver of the gift. Where the taxes get more complicated is that in the subsequent years, what Anjali earns on the amount that has been gifted by her husband to her will continue to get clubbed with the income of her husband, but what she earns on the interest that she's earned in the first year belongs to her. So in the subsequent year, when the 1,08,000 gets reinvested, the earnings from the 1 lakh rupees gets added to the income of her husband, whereas the earnings on the 8,000 rupees gets added to her own income. So you can see that knowingly or unknowingly, you would be complicating your taxes by gifting money to your spouse and investing in her name without knowing the tax implications of what you're doing.